What's up, everybody? I'm former quarterback Malik, and if football, sports interviews, and having a good time interests you, then make sure to click the like and subscribe button as it really does help support this channel, and it also makes sure that you guys never miss a new video. How's everyone doing? And welcome back to the episode of the Malik Show. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I know I did. I was able to go down and connect with some of my kids in Naples, and also able just to hang out at the house. It was really nice. Last couple of weekends, I've been traveling a lot, so I definitely had a great weekend. So to get started, so first I want to get into Pat's Fitgerald. So one, I hope this is not true. This is crazy. I have never heard of anything like this. I've heard in certain locker rooms, that people would get beat up, for sitting where seniors sit or things like that. But I've never heard of, people getting butt naked and doing under center snaps and the whole dry humping situation. If you guys haven't read it, I would definitely encourage you guys to go look at that because it is unfortunate if it is true. Honestly, I hope it's not. I know that there are some sources that saying it's are, and I even read something about, he made some of the staff members shave their head, so they were in accordance to what he wanted, or they were going to lose their job. But a lot of stuff going on, if it is true, it sounds like a whole bunch of like frat boy stuff. Like that was a lot of, like the frat boy hazing that I would hear about in college, that they would make, do these random stuffs and weird things. So I definitely hope that Northwestern's program wasn't run like a frat house, but as so far, it definitely seems like that's how it was ran, that, there's a lot of shady and just weird and awkward things that were going on. I would say personally that if anyone was to ever try me like that, like I would be in the hospital or they would be in the hospital. Like I just don't play that. So how they were able to handle that mentally, I don't know, but at least with me, like someone would have found out, because there's no way that any of that stuff that they're saying was going on, I would personally allow that. And I don't care how many people would have to fight me, but yeah, I would be in the hospital by the end of it. Um, Next, we're going to talk about the college realignment. Obviously, we've talked some about Oklahoma and Texas. They're going to move to the SEC. And obviously, we've seen this year with Houston and UCF moving up to the Big 12, which I think is going to be interesting to see how that, starts to work its way out. But, I really like a lot of the realignment. I think you're going to have some small schools like Houston and UCF that now can play in the bigger bracket. I think you're even going to have some schools probably from the Pac-12. Like I can really see maybe Oregon and Utah, or Oregon and Washington moving out and maybe trying to join, the Big Ten and joining that league. I think that could be an interesting option as well. Some people don't like it just because of the rivalry games. Like obviously you're not going to have, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. You might not have Texas, Texas Tech. Different rivalries like that have been around for a very, very long time. But I also think that, when you're talking about Texas, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee. Like these are going to be some games that you'd only be able to see in bowl games that people waited for. And now you can better watch it every year. I mean, you're going to have some of the biggest, to me, fan clashes that, we haven't really experienced in a long time, especially talking about new fans. You're talking about Oklahoma and Texas, two really prominent organizations that are used to winning, that used to being at the top of their division, either, battling for number one or number two. Now they're entering a house where, now you have the Nick Sabans, you have the Kirby Smarts. Obviously, you have, LSU and what they're building there. So I think personally it's going to be a lot of cool rivalries. I think you're going to have, some different rivalries that wind up popping up just because, you're going to have teams like Texas and Oklahoma, especially like the fan base, that are able to start new ones based on, maybe Texas doesn't like LSU because Louisiana's close, things like that. Like you're going to start to see recruiting battles start to heat up between fan bases because now they're in the same conference. So, I think there's going to be some really, really interesting things that, are going to happen in the next couple of years. Personally, I would love to see Miami switch over to the Big Ten. One, it's more money. Two, I believe you'll have bigger games. Like I would love to see Miami play Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State. To me, I think those are 3 or 4 big games. Obviously, I hope we'd be able to keep, the FSU rivalry. But if you can add those games and on top of that, add in the random like SEC or Big 12 game, kind of what we have this year versus Texas A&M, you can add those in there. One, it helps our strength of schedule. Two, we're going to have more money pumping outside of, just with universities producing itself. Like the actual conference itself will help us. I'm pretty sure the Big Ten is number one with, generating revenue for their conference. So I think it could be a really, really good option for Miami in the future. So next, what we're going to go over is, the Texas head coach talked about, playing Alabama. And I really liked it. Some of the words that really stuck out to me. And, one of the sentences, they're like, how are you going to adjust or what are you going to do? And like, what are you going to tell your kids? We talked about, mental fortitude. mental toughness, and just being physical. That's a lot of stuff that I tell a lot of my kids is that, man, when you get to college, there will be someone bigger than you. There will be someone faster than you. There will be someone stronger than you. There'll probably be maybe one or two more guys that are smarter than you. You might not be the best at everything that you do whenever you go into college, but the biggest thing that you can really focus on, to me, that separates the good athletes that are just, big, fast, and strong from the great athletes that are big, fast, and strong and can operate and make plays and do it consistently, is just the mental fortitude and mental toughness. There's gonna be times where you're tired. There's gonna be times where guys make mistakes around you. Do you allow that to frustrate you, or do you keep doing your job? To me, I think the mental part of the game is so overlooked nowadays. A lot of people say, "Hey, this guy's 6'4" and runs a 4.5 40," and then you get him out there on the field, and you have these OCs that are getting paid millions of dollars to generally trick these 18, 19, 20-year-old, 22-year-old guys. Like, if these guys can't think mentally and be smart and understand what they're doing, what their assignment is, and do it over and over and over again, to me, that's where teams start to bust down. I think like that's the side of football that a lot of people are slowly overlooking. Nowadays, I think that with the way the game is growing, you have to have smarter kids. Like, you don't see traditional cover one, cover two, cover three. I mean, you're talking about 4 or 5 DBs. You're talking about nickel. You're talking about dime. You're even doing some packages like Manny Diaz does at Penn State, where it's two defensive linemen, three linebackers, and about 5 or 6 defensive backs just all over the field. So, you got to have guys that are smart. You got to have guys that you can either learn multiple positions or play multiple positions. So to me, I think, the mental part of the game has definitely changed. And I'm just glad to see that Texas is really focusing on that, because they have the talent. They'll always have the talent. The difference is can they mentally go through a season, and win every game? Because it's not easy, man. A lot of people look at the schedule and say, oh, you should win this game, or you should win that game. At the end of the day, every team's working, every team's doing their best. And so I think that it's the teams that can mentally focus and mentally, prepare each week, or usually the teams that come out on top. So next, we're going to go over some quarterback rankings, and we're going to go by basically the conferences. So at the top, I got Drake May. I know number 2, I put his name backwards, so I do apologize, but that's supposed to be Jordan Travis, not Travis Jordan. Jordan Travis, I really like him. The guy can run. He probably is the most mobile quarterback in the ACC. I think if he can replicate, especially in the air we did last year with Johnny Wilson, and obviously, they've added receivers in the portals and even a tight end. I think he has a team around him. They're going to have a good run game. So I do expect big numbers out of him, and I promise you I did not miss his name just because he's Florida State. Next, we're going to go into Riley Leonard. So I really like Riley. The kid's tall. He's more athletic than people give him. He does a really good job of helping his talent play better than what they are. Not saying that, Duke doesn't have a lot of talent, but I'm saying that, because of the ball placement, because of, just the kind of the way that he leads, he's able to let a guy not only catch, but get a catch in yards after the catch. To me, I think that's really big. And a lot of it has to do with, is it on his upfield shoulder, or his backfield shoulder, or is it high? Is it low? Like, how do you, pinpoint your footballs? And Riley Leonard does a really good job of, helping guys with ball placement so they can get yards after catch. TVD to me is number 4. I think this guy probably has the second best arm in the ACC. I'd be interested to see who has a better arm out of him and Drake May. But you talk about someone that's big, strong, smart, understands football, has a lot of experience. They're finally putting, a really good offensive line, some good skilled players. You're going to have some young guys that are going to trickle in that are really talented. So I really do expect a big year out of this guy. I honestly think that if he can throw, especially a deep ball like he did a couple of years ago, and then show you that, he can finish games and really, really close them out. I see TVD jumping up to number 2 on this board just because of arm talent, the size that he gives you. But I will say that, I think that this is going to be a big year for him, and I think that he's ready for it, and I think that he's going to ball out. So next, we're going to go into Cade Klubnik. I think Cade is going to be the best quarterback once these guys leave next year. I think most of these guys will leave. And I think he'll be kind of like the Trevor Lawrence, the old Clemson, to where like Clemson will be the team to beat. But I think it will be interesting. I think this kid has the ability where if you give him a clean pocket, he will beat you. They have a lot of talent. But I think, also with him, the reason why I have him a little low at this list is if you put a little pressure in front of him, I think that it kind of rattles him a little bit. And I think that's something that, over time, he'll calm down. His feet will get better. I expect him, week 1, week 2, to have good like games, but then I expect by week 6, 7, 8 for him to get more comfortable and just get better and better. Like, I don't expect him to come out and have a Heisman Trophy winning season, but I do expect him, each week to see him getting better and better, less mistakes. It might not necessarily be more touchdowns, but, maybe not as many turnovers, or maybe, not as many, balls that are, either behind a guy or overthrown. Like, that's really what I want to see out of Cade. I think he has a talent. I think he understands the offense. I think he has, a good system built around him. But a lot of it's, going to be him settling down and just taking what the defense gives him. So next, we're going to the SEC. My number one is Jaden Daniels, LSU. If you guys watched this guy last year, especially at the end of the year, this guy almost put on a clinic by himself. He's fast, he can throw, he's a leader. Guys trust him. He's beat out quarterbacks behind him that could probably be QB1s at a university. So I really like him, and I can only see him getting better from last year. Next, KJ Jefferson. This guy's big, he's physical. He is a QB country guy, so salute to you. And even TVD and Riley Leonard are both QB country guys, so they don't want to leave you guys out. But KJ's been with QB country for a while. I kind of watched him in high school and then saw him in Arkansas. The guy's big, he's physical. He seems to love football. He seems to really have an understanding of the Arkansas offense, which I love. He is someone, at least for me, I'm always excited to watch this guy play. He reminds me of a little bit of Cam. I don't think he's as explosive in the run game, but I definitely think he has the size. He can make the plays. He is super physical. You guys watch him on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. Like, he puts his shoulder down, he gets it. And that's one reason why I love his game, is that, he brings kind of that attitude, that, tough mindset to the quarterback position, especially in the SEC, where, you're going to have linebackers that are 6'4", 230, 240, and he's banging with the big boys. So a lot of respect for KJ, not only running the ball, but passing. This guy's accurate. He can make every throw. You see him a lot. He throws with a lot of touch, which I think, is one thing that, I was always wondering, could he do? And not saying that he couldn't, but, at least a lot of young quarterbacks, they have a strong arm, and they want to, throw BBs everywhere. Now you see him throwing with touch, he's throwing over guys. So I think KJ's come a long way, and I would even argue that he might even be the number one guy on this list, depending on how he plays. Number 3, Joe Milton. You talking about just arm talent. I mean, the guy can throw it 80, 85 yards easy. You watch him, last year when he played in the bowl game, he looked really, really good. He gave Clemson a lot of fits last year, and I think if he can carry that over, Tennessee would be really, really hard to beat in the SEC. Next is Spencer Rattler. I just think with the experience that he had at Oklahoma, obviously his second year at South Carolina, they seem to be turning things around a little bit. I think this guy will play a lot better than most people have him. The biggest thing to me with him is, don't have a game where you throw 6 touchdowns, the next game where you throw 3 to 4. I think he'll be more consistent too. I think that's probably the biggest thing that he wants to do is, hey, how can I play, more consistent football? And I think, with just, I don't want to say clean up his footwork, because he has pretty good footwork. I just think, trusting his guys, getting more comfortable in the offense will really help him this year. So I do expect big things out of Spencer Rattler. And last is Devin Leary. The reason why I have him last is because of his talent. I think just because, learning a new offense, trying to, instantly come in and be the guy, learning people's speeds, I think will take him a while to adjust. I do expect him to have a good year, but I could see, there will be some games where he misses some guys just based on, him not having the best timing. But hopefully he can build that. I think that, from a talent base, he's probably, number 3 or number 4. But with him just integrating in, to Kentucky, I think that he has to be behind some guys that have been with their guys for a while, that have a very similar, maybe even slightly below skill set. But I think this year they'll actually play better, like a Spencer Rattler or a Joe Milton, just because they've been with their guys for longer. Next, we're going to go over Big Ten. So number 1, J.J. McCarthy. I think this guy's going to be really, really good. I think that he'll give Ohio State's fits. I like Baby Tua. I think he'll do a great job in Maryland. The guy can spin it. He'll have Mike Lockley. And I think they'll do a great job of just, putting him in good positions. Next is Jeff Sims at Nebraska. If you have not seen this guy is a freak. He's 6'4". This guy can run. He can make every throw. I think he will be the guy, not necessarily take Nebraska to the promised land, but I think he's going to win Nebraska some games by himself, especially in the red zone, putting the ball, in his hands, letting him run, letting him make plays. Number 4, Kyle McCord. The big reason why I have him at number 4 is because I think with the receiver core that he has, it's going to be very, very hard for him not to be successful. He's going to have a good run game. He's going to have a great defense. So they're going to win games, and he's going to score points. That's the reason why I have him up here. And obviously he's talented. He's at Ohio State for a reason. He was a 4-star quarterback. So when it comes to at least a tangible, he has all that. My biggest question mark with him is his intangibles. When he gets hit in the mouth, how does he play? If they're down by, 14, what is he going to do? How does he rally his teammates? That's a lot of stuff that I have question marks. But when you talk about someone that has the skill set, that has the talent around him, you got to put Kyle McCord in the top 4. And last, this one's probably going to be a shock for a lot of people. I got Drew Allaire. I got him at number 5. This guy can spin it. I watched him all the way through high school. He'll start for Penn State this year, and I think he's going to do a great job of just throwing it around. One thing I will say about this guy is if you give him a hit, he'll take it. If you give him a go, he'll hit it. If you give him a streak, he's going to throw right down the hash. He legitimately takes what you give him. Like, there were times where he would go like 42 for 50, and it's a whole bunch of dinks and dunks, and all of a sudden you can play up close and he's throwing fades. So I think this guy, because he threw a lot in high school, is really, really going to help him in college. Next is Big 12. I really like Dylan Gabriel. I think, he's going to give Oklahoma a lot of chances just because this guy's accurate and he's able to make plays. Number two is Quinn Ewers. I think he's going to have a really good team around him, so he'll be fine. Forward, Jalen Daniels. I'm very interested in him. I watch his footwork, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how he plays. I know he's got some criticism about his chain, and my biggest thing is I love it. I love the energy. I love the swag. You just better play. You just better be able to play like that. So I watched him last year. He did look pretty good. He does have a good, strong arm. But I am interested to see, can he repeat what he did last year? Number four for me is John Rice Plumlee. I like Central Florida. I think they're going to have a good team. I think they're going to compete. And I think this guy's going to make a lot of plays, especially with his legs. My biggest thing is now that he's in a bigger conference is that you can't rely on your legs as much. I want to see him really air it out. I think this guy can spin. I think he can make every throw. He is a superb athlete, and so I expect him to have a really, really good year this year. And last is Will Howell. This guy came in for the conference game, looked really, really good, looked really comfortable. I think that he'll get better and better, and he to me is kind of the next wild card out of this quarterback group that has a talent but maybe lacks a little bit of experience. The last group is the Pac-12. I got to put Caleb Williams number one. I think this guy could win the Heisman again. Next, you have Bo Nix, another QB country guy. This guy is really, really good. He was at Auburn. He goes to Oregon. Obviously, he's been in the SEC, which is the hardest conference. Now he's in the Pac-12, which is a little more, to me, offensive friendly. It's just one way to play coverages. And obviously, we know the West Coast has some of the best offensive talent that there is. And so, I expect big, big numbers out of him at Oregon this year. Michael Penix, I really like him at Washington. I think it's going to be interesting if he can repeat, what he did last year. But if he can, Washington will be a threat, and he will be the reason why. Cam Rising, they're going to play Florida. I think that's going to be an interesting game to see, how he comes out. It's his senior year, so I expect him, to be a leader, to be a general. There's going to be some dogfight games where, he's going to come out and have to make a play, and I think he has the ability to. So I can definitely see Cam, jumping up maybe one or two spots. And the last one from Oregon State is DJ. He went to Clemson. He was a 5-star, big kid, 6'4", can run. I think that this offense at Oregon State is really, really going to help him. I think they're building the offense around him. I think at Clemson, they already had an offense set, and they were just finding people to plug and play. And at Oregon State, they're going to build an offense that, is kind of predicated to him and kind of, enhances his skill set. So I think that he'll have a really, really good year this year. So next, we're going to talk about the hard knocks, at the New York Jets. I like it. I want to see Rodgers. This could be his last season. He could have one more. But when you're talking about Rodgers in New York, you're talking about Sauce Gardner that, just won Defensive Rookie of the Year. And you're basically expecting a big year. They have a great defense. They have receivers. Obviously, some of their skill players are young, but those guys make plays. So I expect really, really big things this year out of the Jets. And I think a lot of it will be because of Rodgers. And I think that was the biggest reason why, the Hard Knocks wanted to go there. I just hope that, their head coach Robert doesn't freak out any. I know that he was worried about distractions or, things leaking or whatever scenario, he's worried about. And I would say, yes, like to me, I can definitely understand, the worry and the trouble and the issues. But I also think that at the end of the day, like if you're a smart head coach, you're a smart OC, you can tell them, hey, cut this out. Don't show this. But it's also good for me when you're talking about, brand recognition, when you're talking about, new people buying in, especially when you're trying to pull over the Rodgers fans from Green Bay. Because if you can't tell me that there wasn't people that was with the Packers that are not with the Packers, but you can't tell me that there wasn't people that was with the Patriots that when Tom left the Patriots and went over, to the Bucs, that they didn't shift their loyalty with the quarterback. A lot of people love the quarterback. I know there will be a lot of Packers fans that stay Packers fans, but I could see a good number of them trying to switch over just because their love for Aaron Rodgers and what he did there. And I think the biggest thing is this is also where you see Aaron Rodgers' leadership. Can he keep these guys not distracted? Can he, let the cameras, because there's gonna be a lot of cameras in New York. It's a bigger city. Obviously we know what New York has to offer. And so I think it will be a good taste of kind of, what's to come for the New York Jets. So next, we're going to go over Hopkins to Tennessee. And I hate this from Mac. I was really hoping that Hopkins would have gone to the New England Patriots. I think that they really need an offensive threat. They need a vertical guy that, guys would have to double team, or when it's in the red zone, you're either going to sell it to the run or you're going to double team DeAndrea Hopkins. So I really hope they figure it out. This is one of the reasons why Tom Brady left, was because, he wasn't able to get or really keep a lot of good skill players around him. He was having to, fight and different things like that. And I think that's something that, I hope Mac doesn't continuously run into, but it could be an issue. And again, for me, when you're asking a young guy, Mac Jones is coming in behind Tom Brady, trying to fill in some really big shoes, probably a Hall of Fame, the best NFL coach. in history, or one of them, trying to fill in his shoes as well, and really take on his legacy. To me, I think that's a lot, especially when you're not building great talent. I mean, you talk about what the Miami Dolphins have, you talk about what the New York Jets have, and even the Buffalo Bills. Like, they're building offensive talent around them. Like, this game is an offensive game, and I know Bill is still defense wins championships, and I agree. But at the end of the day, if your offense can't score, your defense won't win here. So I think it will be very interesting. I do like Ryan Tannehill. I think this, gives him a deep breath of saying, hey, now I got another weapon. And obviously, Derrick Henry. When you play Derrick Henry, you got to play cover one. You got to make a 7-man box. And now you have DeAndre, and it's like, hey, do I cover Derrick and not let these guys run for 300, or do I double DeAndre Hopkins and play it too high? So, I think there's going to be some very, very I think there will be some very interesting, defensive adjustments, especially for the Titans with DeAndre Hopkins being there. But it will be interesting to see what happens. But so that's the end of this episode. I definitely appreciate everyone for listening. If you guys don't mind, please refer a friend to this episode, or even this channel, as I'm trying to grow. We're at 300 plus subs, and I want to get to 500 by the end of this month. We only got about 2 weeks left, guys. So if we can reach there, I'm going to do another giveaway. I'll probably do a cash giveaway and a signed gift giveaway. So I really, really hope that you guys were able to help me reach the 500 mark by the end of this month. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.